Hey, our first episode ever. And this is about communication with a father, a son, and a stepson. Just how it's changed from when I was a youngster and to how the kids communicate now with each other. So I'll give you my background. I'm Alan,
I'm Eric.
I'm Sean.
and I'm going to give you a quick story of how I used to communicate. I'm 57 years old, so we need to reference from one point. So when I was their ages, 16 and 19, we actually had to talk to people. There's no computers, there's no cell phones. So if we wanted to talk to someone, we'd phone them up on the telephone, the rotary phone, or we'd go knock on their door and say, "You want to come out? Do you want to go do something?" That's how we used to communicate. And what that did for us is we had a social interaction with people. So as I say to Sean, and not so much to Eric, because he's in university, is why do you go with your friends? Well, and their answer to this usually is, I'm talking to them on the phone, or I'm playing a game with them, I'm talking to them on the computer. And how does that compare now to the way I used to talk and where it's going down the future, where it leads to? Eric, what are your thoughts on this?
So as a university student, I'm 19, as Alan said. Most of the time, in terms of just like meeting new people, you just meet people in lectures or in class, and you just like ask if someone's sitting there, and then you just sit down and introduce yourself. And I'd say it's like a good blend of the more modern kind of communication and what Alan was just talking about. So we do still have those kind of social interactions in lectures and just like hanging out with your friends and stuff. But there is definitely still a big tech component of it because in order to make plans almost all the time, we text each other or we'll go on Snapchat and we have group chats where we can make plans and stuff like that. But like going out to bars and that kind of stuff is still very, very big amongst kids my age, I guess. So, yeah.
Sean?
So I'm 16 years old, and me and my friends we do phone call and text each other quite a bit, but more than half the time we'll play video games together and we'll use group chats such as Discord, Skype sometimes. Those are the main ways of calling each other. Like, I have a friend who lives in Edmonton who I play with very often, and there's no way that we'd be able to text each other all the time because that would be a lot of phone bills for one. But for two, it's just much easier to play video games over something like Skype or Discord, which is a lot longer range because we can't go up to each other's doors or we can't see each other in school all the time.
So my question is, do you get enough social interaction? Do you actually see people face to face? And that was the one thing that when we had actually face to face. So we had personal interaction. I'd have to say, "Hey, John, what's going on?" I'd have to look him in the eye. Or, "Hey, Susie, you want to go on a date?" That's the kind of things we'd have to do, social interaction. But nowadays, you don't actually do that as much. I don't even see it happening at all. Sean, how do you intend to meet people? How do you socially interact with them on a face-to-face basis?
I mean, we do interact with each other on a face-to-face basis, especially in school, but I guess that we don't meet each other as much in real life as compared to my dad. So the main way of meeting each other is from school or public events or parties even.
Eric, and what's your take on it? You're a university student, so it's a lot different for you as you are more you have to socially interact with people in classes. But does it make it easier or you feel less confident as opposed to Sean, who does more things over internet and based socializing?
Well, I'd say that, like we have a good blend of like the kids my age. All of us have a really decent background in technology and stuff like that. So we all kind of know what we're doing and like obviously like some people my age still play video games all the time and we'll still like Skype each other, like go on Discord and the stuff that Sean just mentioned. But I'd say that there is probably more like face-to-face interaction with kids my age just because like I don't know, we just meet people all the time, especially being on a university campus all the time. There's people everywhere around you constantly that you don't know. So just being able to go up to someone and introduce yourself is really easy. And then to keep the communication going afterwards, you can just use texting and Snapchat and whatever. But in terms of like I don't think I've ever just like gone to my friend's house and just knocked on his door and asked if he wanted to come hang out, something like that.
See, and as when I was growing up, that's what we had to do. So I always say to Sean, and I say to you as well, not so much anymore. But how do you meet people? like how do you meet people?
Yeah.
You really don't know who these people are on a face-to-face basis. You know, if you're playing games and stuff like that, it takes away from your actual commitment to them, like
Yeah.
talking. So as opposed to being distracted by a game, if you actually had to talk to someone face to face, how would that be? Like you're a little different, Eric, because you do it a little more often.
Yeah.
But Sean, how does that do with you?
I mean, speaking with them on a face-to-face basis is a lot more rare these days, obviously. But one way that we, like, younger teenagers, I suppose you could say, like to communicate face-to-face is we have FaceTime and stuff like that. We can actually see each other through our cameras on our computers and our phones. Or rarely, once in a while, we will actually go over to each other's houses, but we don't knock on each other's doors, obviously.
So as we roll forward here, how do you see technology playing a bigger role? Like where you guys are more technology savvy than I. How do you see it going along? Like right now, everybody to meet people, they go online, go online. How does that technology look like in the future for you guys? Because you're in the middle of it. You are at the brink of as it rolls forward. Where I, at my age, I like to talk. I pick up the phone. But now that's so passe, more or less. So how do you guys see this future of technology and socializing going? Eric?
Well, I mean, I think there's still like a big benefit to having actual face-to-face interactions. Like, it's a big noticeable difference, especially for me if like I'm Skyping somebody or I'm just like sitting in a room with them. So I don't think we'll ever really lose the social and like face-to-face interactions, but having online communication as easy as it is now, like, I don't know, there's the obvious issue of catfishing. I don't know if that's, you know what it is or anything, but people can make like fake accounts online that seem like they're a completely different person and then can like draw people in that way. So I can see that becoming a bigger issue as like more and more people get online and start communicating more that way. I don't know. Tough one.
Sean, what do you think? You're still in high school. What are your thoughts on it as you see it moving forward? Like how do you see socializing moving forward in the computer era?
I mean, we'll always obviously talk to each other in real life, but definitely texting, or maybe texting might not even be the most popular thing in the future, but definitely that sort of Skype style where you see each other face to face could become more popular. But I feel with messaging and texting that kind of takes away emotion in it instead of seeing someone face to face. Because definitely seeing someone face to face definitely sparks a little bit more emotion than just typing a couple words on a keyboard, obviously. But I feel that the world's kind of going in that direction where we won't have that as much anyways.
No, you're absolutely right. The one thing about relationships, 'cause that's really at the end of the day, how do you make a relationship over a computer? You know, that what it
Yeah.
boils down to. You really don't get a chance to have a personal relationship. You can talk to them, you can see them, but touching someone's hand or touching their
There's
shirts or
body
jackets.
language involved in everything too.
Absolutely, but do you see the body language over a phone, over at texting? You can't see it.
No.
You know, and that's just kind of where we're going to. Are we getting too impersonal? Do you feel it? Like as a university student, do you see
Yeah.
it or no?
Well, it's really easy to be fake with people online. So like you can just convey emotion. Like I mean, you like convey emotion very differently on online than you would in person. Like emojis becoming a thing, or they've been a thing for a while, but those are an easy way that people usually like, I don't know, try and reinforce whatever they have and stuff like that. I don't know. Lost my train of thought.
What do you think? Like as a personal touch in high school?
Yeah, well, a lot of things are obviously becoming more fake online, especially with things like Snapchat and Instagram, and we are starting to lose that kind of reality. And of course, with emojis, they are a way of expressing emotion, but I feel with the amount of emojis I see, due to the amount of technology I use, they feel really fake at a point. So,
You know, and I think you're absolutely right. You have a good point there. One thing I've always said as I've gotten older and seen Eric grow up and Sean grow up is I have to be personal. Like in my day, to meet people, to have a girlfriend, you actually had to physically be there. They had to actually like you. Like they had to like you physically, mentally, and how you dressed. Is your hair greasy? Like you, some guy could be sitting on his texting this girl, and his hair hasn't washed for 3 weeks,
Yeah.
and he weighs 400 pounds, and he can say, "Look, I'm so and so," where actually he isn't.
That's exactly what catfishing is.
Yeah, and this is an issue as you roll forward. But again, I keep going back. I never wanted. I would say to Sean, I always say, "Why don't you go to someone's house?" And what's your answer to me?
Because we don't need to.
And that's right. And that's one thing that does worry me. You have to meet people. Like to get in a relationship, it's not over text. At one point, you actually have to talk to them, be with them, hang with them, go to a movie with them, which just doesn't happen so much anymore.
Yeah.
You know, Eric, you're in a bit of a different situation where university is much more social, is it not?
Yeah, it definitely is.
And Sean, and school, like yours isn't as social. It is for the 8 hours you're in school, right?
Yeah, but outside of it, like at best we'll text each other. Maybe face call every once in a while. Not very often.
You know, so as our podcast comes to an end here, what are your thoughts? Like, what would you guys like to see as we roll down in the future? Like, I mean, as far as is texting will never go away. Nothing will. All technology will always stay. But do you feel that you need to maybe get out there a little more, to put yourself out there, or to meet new people by personally talking to them, being with them? What are your thoughts on that? Well, put it this way: do you ever think about that, or you really don't think about that?
Yeah, I don't know. It never really crosses my mind. Like we don't. Like, people my age mostly just use texting and stuff. Like we obviously talk and just make like general conversation, but a lot of the time it's just to make plans to go meet up normally. So I don't really ever think about it as being something like a bad thing or anything like that. So
Sean, what's your take on that?
I mean, yeah, I kind of like how it is now, but definitely there could be more actual social interaction face to face because I do feel that there is some sort of emotional disconnect with things like Skype or whatnot or texting. So there definitely could be more real life interaction.
I think what I see and what worries me more for all the kids rolling forward is a personal touch. You have to be able to talk to people. You have to be comfortable talking to people. And how do you talk to people? How do you meet people? It's great to talk over the phone, but it's so easy to I'm done talking to you. I'm never answering your call again. Where in person, you see them, why didn't you talk to me? It makes them actually face what they've done, where you have no responsibility over a text line. Yeah, I'm not talking anymore, and it's done. You know, and it happens. You guys know this.
Yeah,
you guys, I'm sure, lived it. Where my take on it is, if I see that person, why didn't you phone me back? They have to deal. They have to be responsible for their actions. Where I don't see people as responsible for their actions. They don't take responsibility for their actions.
yeah,
Is what I'm really trying to say.
yeah.
You know, and that's kind of where I'm going as a father. You always like to see your kids have the best of both worlds, technology and personal, because it's going to come to that point where you're going to want a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And how are you going to get a girlfriend if, well, I have a girlfriend. I've been texting her for 3 years. Oh, great. Have you been to a movie with her? No, but we text. Oh, have you gone out? No, but we play video games. You know, that's not quite the same. You know, you hear that a lot.
Yeah,
not
of
only
course.
in your guys' age, just in people's age, as even older people.
Yeah, everyone.
Yeah, because they don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to socialize, and it's a big part of the way we move forward and how society grows.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for the podcast. That was a good one.
Yeah.
You'll be hearing from us again, Eric, Sean, and Alan. We'll talk boy stuff. How's that sound? All right, thank you. All have a great rest of whatever you're doing. Text lots. Talk to people. It's even better. Eric?
Have a good one. I don't know. Thanks for tuning in.
Yes, talk to people. Thank you.